Dana, you said about Diego, he was a guy put on this earth to fight. That's what he's born to do. I think there was another guy that same way, Jorge Masvidal. What was your take on what he did?
Yeah, that dude's a killer, man. He is. What a brilliant plan, execution. I mean, everything of that flying knee was brilliant. If you're going into a fight with Ben Askren, you can 99.9% predict that he's going to try to take you down right out the gate. And that's what he thought. He set up the flying knee perfectly. He landed it perfectly, and it was super impressive.
Legendary UFC fighter. In 2019, he knocked out Ben Askren in 5 seconds, setting the UFC record for the fastest end to a fight. He was on the hype in 2019 and shocked a lot of people with his performances. He almost knocked out Nate Diaz, was able to stop promising fighter Darren. Actually, at that time, he was able to raise a stir, and every MMA fan knew about this fighter. Hello fighters with you MMA Iron Channel. In this video, we will talk about the shocking performances of Jorge Masvidal. But before starting this video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and put a like, so that this video would be watched by a large number of people. Jorge Masvidal was born on November 12, 1984 in the family of a Cuban father and a Peruvian mother. He is an American born and raised in Miami, Florida, in the octagon defending the honor of the United States of America. As a child, Masvidal was an aggressive boy and often got involved in fights. His amateur fights hit the lens of the cameras, and now they can be found on YouTube. One day, older guys set up a fight club in the backyard of the school. They thought that 14-year-old Jorge would not stand against the main local bully, who turned 19 years old. But they were mistaken. The management of St. Brendan High School for a long time put up with Masvidal's addiction to street fights, but in the end the young man was expelled. Jorge devoted his free time to training. Jorge Masvidal's professional career began on April 11, 2003, when the 19-year-old played in the Fast and Fearless kickboxing tournament. In May of the same year, the fighter made his MMA debut. Masvidal won one after another. Most often, opponents went to knock out the blows of a novice fighter. The battle with Brazilian Rafael Assunção, the sixth in Jorge's career, ended in defeat. In AFC, Masvidal had 19 fights, and 16 of them he won. In April 2009, he made his first appearance in the Bellator tournament, knocking out his opponent, American Nick Aguilar, in his debut fight. In the semifinals, Toby Amata was stronger. In the third round, he used a triangle choke hold against Masvidal. In the UFC, Masvidal made his debut against Tim Means on April 20 and achieved success. With just 2 wins in his last 7 fights, Jake Ellenberger was desperate to get back on track against Jorge Masvidal, but faded other plans for the night. Near the end of the first round, Ellenberger tried to strike a knee punch at a jump, but lost his balance by sliding his left foot over the canvas, after which it got stuck between the canvas and the cage, and the fighter himself fell on the floor. Writhing in pain and trying to pull out his stuck leg, Ellenberger was completely open to his opponent's attacks. After a few punches, the referee intervened and stopped the fight as Jake couldn't defend himself properly. And in the end, Jorge Masvidal wins. In Denver at UFC on Fox 23, a fight between top welterweights Donald Cerrone and Jorge Masvidal took place. The fighters had a very active first round, were not afraid to exchange blows, and arranged a good cut in the rack. At the end of the first round, Masvidal sent Cerrone down with a successful series of punches, pounced to finish off, and unleashed a large number of heavy blows. But the round time expired, which saved Cowboy. In the second round, Masvidal continued what he had started. Jorge was in no hurry and methodically shot Cerrone from a distance, and after one of these attacks, Donald fell to the ground for the second time in a fight. Masvidal began to finish off, Cerrone stood up, but was no longer able to defend in the rack from a flurry of blows. The referee was forced to stop the fight. UFC Fight Night 147 ended in London, England, in the main event of which welterweights Darren Till and Jorge Masvidal fulfilled the promises made before the fight and gave the audience a spectacular, uncompromising confrontation. As soon as the starting gong sounded, Masvidal struck a frontistic with a run, which hit exactly in Till's groin. After recovering from the forbidden blow, Till almost immediately went on the offensive and knocked Jorge down with a powerful straight left. Rising to his feet, Masvidal evened up the fight by offering his opponent a fight in the rack, which Darren willingly accepted. Missing punches, both fighters bragged in front of the audience, showing that they were not at all shocked. It should be noted that Jorge spent the entire first period in the left-hand stance, being a natural right-handed. Standing in the usual right-hand stance, Jorge confused Till and took a takedown. Rising from the floor of the octagon, Darren momentarily lost concentration and missed the heaviest hook on the left on the raise, after which he collapsed on the canvas without feelings. In the heat of the struggle, Masvidal continued his swift attack and managed to give the falling Till another hook on the left, and then finished off his recumbent opponent with a blow from above. Thus, Masvidal broke a streak of 2 consecutive defeats and defeated a talented and promising prospect, being, according to bookmakers, the biggest underdog of this card. It must be said that Masvidal is 8 years older than Till and has spent 26 more fights than Darren. This confrontation was a classic illustration of how a seasoned veteran can prevail over a younger and physically stronger fighter due to experience and ingenuity. Diaz vs. Masvidal were promoted so much that even Donald Trump came to Madison Square Garden. Masvidal pretended to want to hit his knee in a jump, so he cut down Ben Askren in July, already in the 5th second of the fight. Diaz stepped aside and gestured, "Come on, no kidding, let's fight," and the chopping went. Masvidal was more accurate. He managed what no one could. He shook Diaz, hitting with an elbow, and then kicked in the head. Nate fell. Jorge rushed to finish off. The Stockton hooligan, lying on his back, restrained the frenzied pressure of the opponent. The famous Stockton slaps were used, but Masvidal continued to fight very aggressively, with a smile on his face, and again knocked his opponent down. First, a hook from the right flew into Diaz's face, then a couple more blows, and he was back on the canvas. Nate's face was drenched in blood. Jorge gave him 2 cuts in the first round. At the end of the 5-minute period, Masvidal made a shot, but in the stalls, he did not cause problems to the owner of the black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Diaz even went to the pain on his leg, which, however, he could not perform. The tempo dropped a bit, although in the middle of the round the fighters staged a wild chopping. It seemed that Diaz was even a little more accurate. Nate's cuts got scarier, but he fought better and better. In the first fight with McGregor, he also initially lost, but then crushed the Irishman. At halftime, a doctor came to Diaz's corner. Nate stood up and showed that he was fine, that he intended to fight further. He went ahead, and the doctor signaled the end of the fight. He forbade Diaz to continue fighting.
And I know you said that you want to take some time off heel and such, but you also said that you want the big money fights and such. Conor McGregor said that he is going to come back January 18th. And Dana White said...
Come back to what?
To MMA, to the UFC.
What do you mean, like fighting in the cage?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That dude's been talking wild for a second. If he fights and gets a victory, and he wants this, and some of you motherfuckers are mean, man, because you know what the fuck I'll do to that little dude, bro. I'll fuck that little guy up, man. He's a fucking midget. Dana White, president of this motherfucking company, said I'm too much man for him. I get it why people want to see him hurt for the stunts he's been pulling. But he don't want this shit. He's just talking so he can get his name out there. He was cheering for Nate. He wanted to run it back with Nate. You think he's at home seeing that fight saying, I want to fight that dude? That dude ain't retarded. You see, he punches old people in the face because those are fights that he could win. He don't want this shit.
At the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, UFC 239 featured a bout between 2 of the promotion's top welterweights, Jorge Masvidal, and former Bellator and 1 championship champion Ben Askren. The fight ended before it could begin. After the referee gave the command to the fighters about the start of the fight, Masvidal, who had previously stood relaxed, leaning his back against the net, immediately fell from his seat and ran at Askren, who tried to imprudently pass at his feet. However, for Ben, this turned out to be a very unfortunate decision, as Jorge threw out a knee in a jump that hit his opponent in the head and knocked him down. Ben instantly fainted. Before the referee ran up to pull Masvidal away from his defeated opponent, Jorge inflicted several more heavy punches on Askren. Thus, Jorge Masvidal scored the fastest knockout in the history of the UFC.
I saw some other criticisms perhaps of your celebration afterwards. Any regrets at the celebration or your behavior in the cage afterwards?
Man, there's not too many people that I've disliked. I have over 50 pro fights, and he's one of them, you know. He talked about my manhood, talked about my culture, my ethnicity. Where do we draw? Why do certain people get to do stuff? You online, so you could do anything. Everything is cool before a fight. You're allowed to do and say whatever you want. Like other fighters are not doing, talking about people's religions, wife, even kids. That's cool. But after a fight, I'm not allowed to showboat and rub it in your face so you and guys like you could see it and be like, maybe I don't talk so much shit, because when I cross one of these real motherfuckers, they're going to make me pay for it, man. They're going to embarrass the shit out of me. And it's not over for Ben either. He still has to deal with me. If I see him at Whole Foods, I'm going to still slap that dude up because I don't like him.